Hello. Welcome to Mom Games Badly. There are plenty of moms out there who are fantastic video gamers. I am not one of those moms, but I still enjoy playing. I hope you'll enjoy hanging out with me while I play. This is a game I found on itch.io called Gentleman Adventurer Crocodile, being an account of the travels of an educated reptile through the Victorian Empire. A swift romp round the Victorian world in the company of an adventurous crocodile. It is a story filled with wondrous lands, strange people, wealth, power, friendship, betrayal, shipwreck, and delicious pastry. If you enjoyed playing Gentleman Adventurer Crocodile, please recommend it to a friend. It is pay what you want. Whenever I play such a game and it goes up on my channel, I do pay at least $1 to the developer. Because I feel like if I'm getting content out of their work, they deserve some money for that. So, yeah, I picked this because they've made several games, but they created So I Bought a Little Chainsaw, which is a game that's made strictly from product reviews, and I absolutely loved it. So, yeah, so let's play Gentleman Adventurer Crocodile. A memoir. Memoir. Click to advance. All right, what are the settings here? Timer? Nope. Volume? This is fine. All right. You start the game. Hold on, let me take a sip. Take a sip. All right, I'm going to move myself. Oops. No, me. Move myself so that I can trim down game a little bit. Okay. That way I can crop out the bounding stuff here. Okay. Click to advance. Here we go. Out of my way, old man. Good day, young friend. Come sit in the sun and listen to my tales of adventure. I don't have time to listen to your prattle. There are fish in this river, and I mean to eat them. Double-click to advance greatly. Okay. The fish will taste all the better after I delight you with stories of my adventures. Old man stories are tedious. What if I were to tell you there will be wondrous lands, strange people, and exotic spices? Tempting? Wealth, power, friendship, betrayal, shipwrecks, and pastry? All right, as you wish, old man. I will listen to your stories, but I warn you, I won't enjoy them. You may scroll back and forth. Okay. We shall see. Now, most important question. Where to begin? All right, so has something important happened in the background that we can scroll? I don't see any differences. Where to begin? Ah, okay, so now I have choices. Have you stayed in a grand palace? Were you marooned on a desert island? What's the coldest place in the world? Can you tell me about life in a big city? Do you have any stories about our home? Are there crocodiles in other lands? Which land has the strangest people? Do you have any stories about our home? Chapter 1. Volta River, the Gold Coast of Africa. Ah, the river. I've never known such peace as I have known on these banks. Was it always peaceful here? I don't remember a time when it wasn't. What was it like here when you were young? Oh, I was never here when I was young. I was too busy traveling the world and having adventures. You're supposed to be telling me about them. Am I? Oh, you're quite right. I don't seem to remember the specifics right now. You're You're wasting my time, old man. Time for me to go catch some fish. You did not complete the story. Try again. Oh, okay. Okay, I see. So now I know why you can double-click to advance greatly. Where to begin? Can you tell me about life in a big city? Chapter 1. The Canadas. A civilized new world. In the region known as Lower Canada, I took lodgings in a city, where I stowed my belongings and took a low-paid job washing dishes. I cleaned plates and bowls, I wiped glasses and cups, I scrubbed pots and pans. I took pride in my work, and word of my talent spread. Soon enough, I was working for very slightly more money in a very slightly better restaurant. No offense, old man, but this doesn't sound like a great adventure. No, I suppose not. But I was very good at my job. People used to like the way I deftly mopped the ramekins. This story has nothing more gripping than ramekins? Oh, I'm sure there was. I just can't think of it right now. I suppose I was content with my humble life. You may have been content, but I am not. Good day to you. You did not complete the story. Okay. Alright. So, which land has the strangest people? This seems like a better jumping off point. Chapter 1. United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. My story begins in a house near the city of London. Inside that house lived a kindly old gentleman who had purchased a curious-looking egg. Inside that egg was none other than myself. Once I had hatched, I was so dashing and handsome that the old fellow adopted me on the spot and raised me as his own son. I spent my early years listening to stories about his travels around the British Empire, of incredible lands, extraordinary sights, and unbelievable customs. Alas, the day after the coronation of Queen Victoria, my father did not awaken from his sleep. I was sent away from my warm and happy home to school. Young people can be very kind. They also have a great capacity for cruelty. I was never accepted by the children of the school. Every day I was mocked and taunted for my long snout and my green skin. It still distresses me to think about it. There was but one boy in the entire school who looked upon me as a friend, and we became like brothers, although we could not have been much more different. Manu was small and slight, while I was already 7 feet long from nose to tail, with powerful muscles and razor-sharp teeth. Manu had been bullied and beaten from the moment he arrived, but that ended on the day we met. The other boys were brave when they called us names from a distance, but they did not dare to come within reach of my teeth. Where Manu excelled at mathematics and languages, I have never been gifted in that way. My field of excellence was sport. On my first day, I broke all the school swimming records, and by the end of my first month, I showed remarkable skill at almost every sporting event. I quickly became the captain of the school rugby team. Success leads to jealousy, and I was singled out by Florian Goodluck, the most horrendous bully in the school. Having been the former rugby captain, he was aggrieved to have lost his position to a lowly and ill-bred foreigner. In my second year at the school, a pocket watch went missing from the headmaster's room, and after a brief search, it was found among my belongings. I protested my innocence, but only Manu listened to me. The professors seemed all too eager to accept that I had committed the crime. The mere fact that I was so different from them was all the proof they needed. If I had not been a reptile, I believe that I would have been expelled, and that would have been an end to it. Instead, I was prosecuted to the full extent of the law. I was sentenced to be transported to a penal colony on the far side of the world. I cried real tears of pity for myself. However inhospitable this land might be, however strange and cruel the people in it, it was the only home I had ever known. All right. So we went to the colony on the far side of the world. Are there crocodiles in other lands? Have you stayed in a grand palace? Were you marooned on a desert island? Chapter 2, The Falklands, Disputed South Atlantic Islands. Oh, is this where the penal colony was? Okay. The first thing one notices when one is on the Falkland Islands is that there is nothing much to notice on the Falkland Islands. There never was a more God-forsaken corner of the world. There's penguins, pretty much. While my island was not completely deserted, it may as well have been, for my sole companions were sheep. Great numbers of feral sheep. I spent my time there shepherding them. You're not about to start counting them, are you? You were already making me sleepy. You're quite right. Sheep can be lacking in excitement and drama. You promised me tales of adventure. Instead, you give me wool. I know there was something more important, but it has quite escaped me. I'm about to escape you too. Good day, old man. Did not complete the story. Try again. Oh, okay. Right, so we started with which land has the strangest people? Okay. And then are there crocodiles in other lands, maybe? Chapter 2, New South Wales Penal Colony, New Holland. By the time I arrived, so they've been exiled to the penal colony from the school. By the time I arrived in New Holland, known to some as Australia, I'd become a dull and angry being. I vowed to be done with humanity at the earliest opportunity. I was assigned to a work gang, digging irrigation channels in the riverbank under the watchful eyes of armed guards. Towards the end of my first week, as I was clearing a bed of reeds, there was an astonishing flash of motion, and I felt sharp teeth around my neck, pinning me in place. I froze, shocked and afraid. The teeth released me, and I turned to see the most enormous crocodile, easily twice my length. "You are dressed like a human, but you are not a human," said the crocodile with a cautious eye on me. "Certainly not," I replied with indignation. "I am a crocodile like you, but of the West African species." "Then I will let you live, but these humans who came with you, these newcomers, they belong in my belly." I can't say that I blamed him. In my anger at humankind, I almost offered to help him. But some vestige of civilization remained with me. "My friend, these unfortunates did not choose this life. If anyone deserves to be eaten, it is the terrible people who forced them to come here." Seeing the guards, the crocodile bolted from the reeds and ate them before they knew what was happening. "I did not mean for these poor guards to die," I stammered in surprise. "But what's done is done. Be free, little brother, and take your friends with you." My fellow prisoners fled to begin new lives elsewhere on the continent, while I swam to the harbor and stowed myself away on the first ship I found. I found out later that this ship was named the Venture, and it was headed south. Alright, so I'm betting the next one would be, what's the coldest place in the world if they're going south from Australia? Chapter 3, Terra Australis, the Great White South. Actually, it's Terra Australis. It's not Australia. Australis, the Great White South. I found my way deep into the ship and hid in a pen full of dogs. The dogs were far from happy about this arrangement, but quieted down once it was clear I had no intention of harming them. A man came to find out why the dogs were barking. Seeing me, he let out a squeak of surprise and exclaimed, "You're looking very green, my pup. No doubt you have the sea sickness." I lived there in the pen for weeks as the temperature slowly dropped. Crocodiles do not cope well with the cold, and curling up with the dogs kept me warm and alive. To my absolute delight, several litters of adorable puppies were born on the journey. Finally, we landed at Terra Australis, a vast Antarctic continent of ice down at the very bottom of the world. The dog handler, whose name was Daly, came to harness the adult dogs. I had no choice but to let him harness me, muttering as he did so about what a sickly-looking pup I was. Out on the ice, I felt the killing bite of the cold. As soon as no one was looking, I slipped my harness and hurried back to the ship. I could not continue to pretend to be a dog, so I crept into an empty cabin and stole some warm winter clothing. Clothing alone would not be enough to keep a cold-blooded reptile alive, so I returned to the dog pen and stuffed my woolen undergarments with some delightfully warm puppies, and I filled my pockets with dried food. A man with a stern authority hailed me. "Ah, Daly, there you are. Good God, man, you are looking very green. I had heard you had come down with a sudden fever. Are you sure you're fit to join the expedition?" I could not betray myself by speaking, so I nodded and we left the ship together. The stern man was Sir Major Dickerson Malmsley, a former officer of the East India Company turned explorer and the captain of this ship. Under his leadership, we set out on foot for the South Pole, the lowest point in all the world. My duties were to tend to the dogs and the sled that carried our equipment and supplies. While the explorers bravely walked on the ice, I would dismantle the camp, pack the equipment, and stow it on the sled. Then I would jog alongside the sled as the dogs ran on to our next halt. There I would set up camp and prepare dinner for when the explorers arrived. After several days, the explorers became sick with a fever, and we stayed in the camp. When the food ran out, Malmsley ordered me to cook the dogs. By this time it was clear that no human would ever leave that camp alive. But killing the dogs would only have delayed the inevitable. I took the dogs and made my way back to the ship. Back on the ship, I found that Daly had also succumbed to the fever, but the crew had been spared. I led them to believe that I was Sir Dickerson, and that I was feeling unwell. I gave orders to set sail for anywhere warm, and I quarantined myself in the Major's cabin. I'm sure some of the crew had their doubts about me, but sail we did. All right. Marooned on a desert island or Grand Palace? I mean, we're sailing? So let's go desert island now? For the Falklands. The first thing one notices when one is on the Falkland Islands is that there is nothing much to notice on the Falkland Islands. There never was a more godforsaken corner of the world. While my island was not completely deserted, it may as well have been, for my sole companions were sheep, great numbers of feral sheep. I spent my time there shepherding them. Oh no! I guess we gotta save the Falklands for the end. Did not complete the story. Alright. So, strangest people. Okay. And then crocodiles in other lands. Coldest place in the world. Okay. Have you stayed in a grand palace? Okay. So they have left Antarctica Chapter 4. India, Jewel of the British Empire. I found myself in a splendid port city on the Indian Ocean. Dressed in the fine clothes of Sir Dickerson, I walked from the docks to the marketplace, where all manner of delights awaited me. This city was alive with sights, sounds, and smells, and I was hungry to take it all in. Seeing a palace beyond the market, I walked up to the gate and asked a guard who the palace belonged to. The guard looked at me for a moment, and then he seized my arm. Soldiers poured out of the palace and wrestled me to the ground. Being young and very strong, I could have prevented this quite easily, but it would have been unsportsmanlike to use my teeth on these men. So I found myself a prisoner for the second time in my life. I was taken inside the palace, and I stayed there for days, waiting to be tried for I knew not what crime. I was taken to the Maharaja, king of this region. A gentleman in fine clothing addressed me. Sir Major Dickerson Malmsley, you are accused of stealing the Maharaja's most precious diamond. Falsely accused once more. I opened my mouth to protest when a young man stepped into my view from behind the throne. It was the Maharaja's son, Prince Manu, my old friend from school. I learned that Sir Dickerson's last act in India, before setting out on his expedition, was to enter the palace with a troop of soldiers and make off with the most valuable items he could find. With Manu's help, I was able to explain that I was not Sir Dickerson, despite all appearances. I was allowed to return to the ship, where I searched Sir Dickerson's cabin and found the diamond in his luggage, along with several other valuable objects. I restored these items to the Maharaja, and, in return, he offered me his daughter's hand in marriage, as is customary for kings to do. Naturally, I declined. The princess was indeed most beautiful, but I planned to sail over the ocean, and a cramped ship was no place for a princess. I confessed that the thing I wished for most in the world was to return to the market to enjoy the colors and smells of the wondrous spices. I was soon presented with a jeweled chest containing the richest and most exciting spices imaginable. In truth, my greatest reward was the opportunity to spend time with my good friend Manu. We shared memories and laughed about our most ridiculous schoolmasters. Manu told me that not long after I was sent to Australia, Florian Goodlock, the school bully, was found to have stolen money from one of the master's rooms and quietly expelled. After some days, not wishing to outstay my welcome at the palace, I thanked Manu and his family for their gracious hospitality and left to return to the ship. On my way, I was met by the princess. She told me that she wished to explore the world, and, with the full blessing of her father, I was to take her to the new world of the Americas. Were you marooned on a desert island? Can you tell me about life in a big city? Do you have any stories about it? Can you tell me about life in a big city? Chapter 5. The Canadas, a civilized new world. In the region known as Lower Canada, I took lodgings in a city, where I stowed my belongings and took a low-paid job washing dishes. I cleaned plates and bowls, I wiped glasses and cups, I scrubbed pots and pans. I took pride in my work, and word of my talent spread. Soon enough, I was working for very slightly more money in a very slightly better restaurant. Offense, old man, but this doesn't sound like a great adventure. No, I suppose not, but I was very good at my job. People used to like the way I deftly mopped the ramekins. This story is nothing more gripping than ramekins? Oh, I'm sure there was. I can't think of it right now. Did not complete the story. Okay. Alright. Which land has the strangest people? The crocodiles in other lands. Coldest place in the world. Have you stayed in a grand palace? Okay. New World of the Americas. Falklands be a good one now, or should I go to the home stories? Big city one doesn't work. Stories about home. Oh, I accidentally skipped ahead, but okay. Oops. Lost a light. Okay. I mean, it may be that I have to start with a different one, but not sure where to go. Maybe save the strangest people? But let's try again. Let's try again starting here. Coldest place in the world. Grand Palace. I guess now we try the Falklands. Ah! Okay. Chapter 5, The Falklands, Disputed South Atlantic Islands. As we neared Argentina, a storm of indescribable proportions blew up and sank our ship. Being an extremely strong swimmer, I tried my best to help everyone. I collected the princess, the crew, who were my good friends by this time, and I brought them to the floating wreckage of the ship. After 5 days of thirst, fatigue, and despair, only myself and the princess survived. We clutched a broken spar and swam westward toward the Argentine shore. We washed up on a beach dotted with grass and weeds. By the beach, a wind-blown plain of grass. Upon the grass, sheep, and nothing more. A little inland, we found a small hollow and managed to light a fire of grass and driftwood. We ate roast mutton for dinner. We had stumbled onto the Falkland Islands, a long-disputed and little-inhabited, God-forsaken pair of rocks in the ocean. For 5 years, the Princess Ishvari and I lived on our island. Ships stopped from time to time, but none would take us aboard without money to pay for our passage. We bartered for goods with the wool we gathered. By day we would tend to the sheep. By night we would bake. Ishvari was educated in Paris, where she learned the art of baking fine patisserie. Such wonders she could create from a little flour, sugar, and butter made from sheep's milk. I soon learned the basics and became quite a baker myself, though I never had half as much skill as her. One day, while exploring the island, Ishvari discovered some crates washed up upon the shore, and among them, my chest of spices. How our lives were transformed. What were once delicate and dainty morsels now became explosions of flavor. In truth, we were never unhappy on that island. Ishvari, whom I once thought a delicate princess, was strong, adventurous, spirited, and wickedly funny. I loved every moment I spent in her company. Every conversation was a joy, every argument a blaze of fire. Neither one of us wished to leave. It did not last. She developed a cough, and within a month, her soul departed the island for good. The very next day, a ship anchored by the island to take on supplies. I prized a jewel from the Maharaja's chest and took passage to Buenos Aires. The time that followed was hard. I do not remember much of it, and I do not wish to remember it. My chest of spices strapped to my back, I walked north and did not stop until I could walk no more. I think now big city would work. Chapter 6, The Canadas, A Civilized New World. My long walk north came to an end in Lower Canada. I took lodgings in a city, stowed my belongings, and took the first low-paying job I could find. I worked for a long time as a dishwasher until I chanced upon a notice seeking skilled bakers. I was perhaps not as gifted as they would have liked, but the bakery was desperate, so they took me on. I lost myself in the work, laboring for stretches of 12 to 16 hours a day, and I learned every trick and every nuance in the ways of baking. When I could learn no more, I sold the remaining jewels from the Maharaja's chest and started my own bakery. The patisserie we sold were the finest in all the city, and the business grew. To the most special pastries, I added tiny pinches of my marvelous spices. The patisserie was a raging success. People from around the world trekked over land and sea to taste my eclairs. And that is how Manu found me. I had been so ashamed of myself for what I might say to Manu and his father about Ishvari that the thought of speaking to them drove me to despair. Manu listened to my account with his head lowered, tears dampening his cheeks. At the end, he embraced me and thanked me for taking care of his sister until her final day. Manu stayed in the city, and we became business partners. He arranged for spices to be shipped from India to our new factory, and he provided the capital to expand the business throughout both Lower and Upper Canada. We opened branches in cities all over the world. The business consumed me and gave me a new purpose in life. But just as business sank its teeth into my hide, my own teeth were starting to show. I hired and fired staff on a whim. I forced my employees to work longer and harder until many could not stand the pressure and crumbled. I replaced them with others who were willing to do more for less. I sent suppliers into bankruptcy with punishing contracts, and I lowered the quality of our products while raising the prices. Profits furnished my bank accounts, and dollar bills lined my dreams. Over the years, many people had tried to paint me as a monster. I am ashamed to say that I proved them right. Manu told me of his concerns, and I paid him no heed. He told me that his sister would not recognize the crocodile I had become, and I saw that he was right. I took passage once more for a distant land. Do you have any stories about our home? Chapter 7, Volta River, Gold Coast of Africa. Here, on this bend of the Volta River, we live in a thriving community of crocodiles. The people who come here are civilized. They respect and admire us, and we, in turn, have respect for them. To some degree. At least, we do not eat them. Very often. It was not always this way. When I returned here, to the place that gave me life, I found death. Crocodiles were hunted by wicked men who wanted trophies for their walls. Men who bragged over dinner about how brave they were in the face of unarmed animals. For my part, I drove out a number of the hunters. Among them, I was surprised to encounter Florian Goodluck, the bully who had tormented me at school. He boasted to me that he had stolen the headmaster's pocket watch and hidden it among my belongings. He must have thought he had the better of me, armed as he was with a rifle and pistols, and accompanied by his retinue of servants. He underestimated my anger, my speed, and my ferocity. It was the first and only time I tasted human flesh. I sent word to Manu, who came with the Maharaja and a troop of soldiers to drive out the remaining hunters. In time, crocodiles from neighboring areas came to enjoy the safety of our sanctuary, along with hippopotami, waterfowl, and all manner of other animals. We talked of Ishvari and how much we both missed her sharp sense of humor. I asked him if he had given his blessing for her to travel aboard my ship as she had told me. He hesitated, looked to the sky, and nodded once. I told them I had made up my mind to stay here. I left my share of the company to Manu, and I would not take any payment. I knew he would run it better than I ever could. Manu and his father continued to visit from time to time, as long as their age and the difficulties of travel allowed them. Nowadays, apart from the occasional delicious poacher, we aren't troubled by hunters. Visitors who come to this part of the river are more interested in taking photographs than trophies. Best of all are the wonderful young crocodiles who have only known a life of peace and are polite enough to listen to the rambling stories of old men like me. Story successfully told. Ah, that was fun. That was fun. It's, it's a pain in the butt to have to start over again, but the game is very smartly designed that double-clicking, you zip right through the entire, page, the entire portion of the story that you've already been through, so you get to make other choices quickly. So, well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I found that delightful and a lot of fun. And Akzidenz. Okay, can I quit? There we go. All right. Akzidenz. They've also made My Death Story, which is another text adventure. Oh, this is new. Arise. It's there or it isn't, whether you see it or not. Platformer that you can play in browser. A big impertinent face. Is the kitten small or is the kitten far away? Spies with very little intelligence. My Death Story. This game is too hard. This game is too easy. I don't know why I'm doing this accent. I don't know why I did the whole accent. I was like, Victorian. I don't think that was a Victorian accent of any kind. Creepy Uppy. Keep your head up. Duelists. A Tale of Honor, Justice, and Blunderbusses. Splatter Pillars. Fake Moon. Guide your fake moon to catch all the lunar landers. Oh, wow. That is an old style game. This was, well, I won't go into it now, but like all these items on the screen were already on there, and it was just a matter of making them show up individually. Anyway, Splatter Pillars, Pixaboom, Caterkiller, Boss Battle, Sample Game, and Pindenberg, a fly 'em up, destroy airships by flying into them. Anyway, Akzidenz, Gentleman Adventurer Crocodile. That was delightful. And thanks for joining me and hanging out for the story. I'll see you next time.